Mitsubishi has had some rare good news recently with its Triton ute. In fact, it's the brand's best-selling model and one of the top-selling dual cabs. But most of that's come down to price. It's been one of the cheapest utes on the market. But Mitsubishi's hoping to keep that momentum going with this, an all-new Triton. Meet the 5th generation of Mitsubishi's workhorse ute. Codenamed MQ, it replaces the MN that has essentially been around for almost a decade. The styling is very much evolutionary, maintaining the distinctive body and sleek nose, the latter now with more bling. Inside in the Triton is a big step up. Just the presentation, the layout, the way it's all put together shows much more care and attention to detail. But you've still got that sort of rugged basicness that you expect in a dual cab ute. So there's functionality, decent storage, for example, a basic but workable instrument cluster. One thing I'm not convinced about is the colour touchscreen. The menus are a bit of a nightmare. The whole thing feels like a bit of an afterthought. It just doesn't quite work. Plus the pricing is pretty sharp. This top shelf Exceed comes generously loaded with dual zone aircon, digital radio, reversing camera, smart key entry, rain sensing wipers and a powered driver's seat. And of course you get the obligatory sports bar and alloy wheels, as well as leather seats. Then there's the price, $47,490 plus on roads. Now that is really sharp. To get near that in any of the Triton's rivals, Ford Ranger, Mazda BT50, Volkswagen Amarok, Nissan Navara, those sorts of things, you'll be paying thousands more. Now there's one more clincher for the Triton, the warranty. It's 5 years versus 3 years for most rivals. Now a lot of people will say, who cares, 2 years, what's the diff? But when you're out doing this sort of stuff, going off-road a bit, maybe towing, getting a bit more serious with it, that extra peace of mind can make a big difference. And the other big win is you can go and have your 2, 3, 4 years of fun, travel around the country, get back and still sell it with a factory warranty. But enough of the nuts and bolts. What about the ability? Well, it's claimed to tow 3,100 kilos, which is just 400 kilograms less than class leaders, and the ground clearance is 205 millimetres. So it's got the goods then, and a really good approach angle, 30 degrees. The departure angle is not nearly as good, so when you're going off steep bits like this, you just got to be a little careful. It's not helped on this one because of the tow bar on the back, which you can end up snagging like that. The four-wheel drive system is generally part-time, but you can actually chuck it in 4 high and drive it on regular roads. It's got all open diffs, so it helps you out there. And then for the more serious stuff, choose 4 high lock, which locks that centre differential, plus you've got a separate rear diff lock, so pop that on and everything's looking all right, but it does disconnect most of your electronics, ABS and traction control and so on. You haven't got to worry too much about that front, and with those 2 diffs locked, it's got pretty good traction there, reasonable ground clearance, a little bit of lag from the turbo. You can just hear it spooling up almost like a siren as you get going, but it works pretty well, feels pretty rugged. So it's a useful device, but it's not as big as some. Sure, it's long and it fits 5 people in, but the cabin is slightly narrower than most. And the wheelbase is slightly shorter, and you do sort of feel that inside. It just doesn't quite have the spaciousness of some of those newer, bigger dual cab utes, the sort of room to move that makes them a viable alternative for an SUV for a lot of people. Underneath too, the Triton is smaller. The engine's been downsized slightly to 2.4 litres. But there is slightly more grunt, and the Triton's certainly on the money, 133 kilowatts, 430 newton metres. Now that torque does kick in at 2,500 revs. Below that it can be a little bit lazy, so you step on it, just takes a little while to get going. You've still got plenty of that diesel drone, which I guess is, reminds you it's a bit truck-like. The biggest negative though is the auto. It's only a 5-speed. Most competitors have now got at least 6, so it's a gear down. Sometimes not the smoothest shifting unit around, and you do miss that extra gear, particularly when you're on a freeway. It'd just be handy to have the extra ratio there to get you out of trouble. And in many ways that's indicative of the Triton package, whether you're talking tow capacity, performance, space. It's just not quite there with the competitors. It's a fraction below. But the one thing it has got a big leg up on is the price, and for many people that'll make a difference. This car is pretty good value.